You submit a request for repairs the right way. Okay, so there are 3 steps to submitting a request for repairs when you're representing the buyer on a purchase. Step number 1 is to set expectations with your buyer. Step number 2 is to help clarify the report. And step number 3 is to submit a request the right way. So let's dive into it. Step number 1. How do you set expectations with your home buyers? Well, you do it in the buyer consultation. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, have you ever purchased a home before? You haven't, or you have. That's great. One of the things that is going to happen when you purchase a home is you're going to get a home inspection. Now, this is the scripting that I'm using to kind of set the expectations and set the tone that I'm going to talk about it. Then I educate them on just a few things about the home inspection. Number 1, I let them know who my home inspector is and their background. Hey, I use this person, here's their background, here's their experience, here's why you can trust my opinion. The second thing that I go over with them is what the home inspection covers. Hey, they're going to look at the major appliances, the dishwasher, the water heater, the AC, the furnace, all of that thing. So I let them know what's going to be covered. And then lastly, I let them know what is realistic to expect and what's not realistic to expect. So I'll actually show them a physical copy of a home inspection report on another property, and I'll say, look, as you can see, here's a home that was built only 5 or 6 years ago. There were 100 items that came up on the report. That home inspector's job is to pick apart that home and find anything and everything that's wrong with it. Here's some of the things that we see are serious issues with properties, like water leaks, corroded piping, and a few other things. So I'll actually educate them. Now, this might be different area to area. I don't know how homes are built where you're at, but I'm in Orange County, California, and in general, most of the homes are newer or built within the last 30 to 50 years. So I educate them on what the actual issues are. Then I'll take them through what are not normally issues, but what a lot of buyers think issues are, like a damper clamp in a fireplace or not having a sediment trap on a water heater. Now, I'm not giving them advice on that, but I'm just saying these are the things that are going to come up on almost any property we look at. So it's not unique to the property. It's going to feel like a scary thing, but you need to be aware of that. So that's number 1, is I set expectations in those 3 areas, and I let them know not to panic if there is any major items that come up. Myself and the home inspector will work with you to make sure that you have a firm knowledge of what things need to be requested during that time. Okay, that's how I set expectations. Obviously, it's a lot more elaborate than that, but I'm just giving you a brief summary so that, for YouTube, so that it doesn't take an hour to watch this. The second thing that you need to do to negotiate a request for repairs with your buyers is you need to help clarify the report. So what do I mean by that? Well, the home inspector is generally, a typical kind of like handyman contractor person. They can be very nice, but in general, they don't know how to simplify a message. That's my job as a salesperson, leader, and communicator. My job is to simplify what the home inspector says and put it in layman's terms. So one of the things that I do is when we're at the home inspection summary, as the home inspector is explaining things, I will break it down a little bit for the client, and I'll say, okay, Mr. Inspector or Mrs. Inspector, you said this. It sounds like this is what the actual issue is. Is that what I'm hearing? So I help clarify in layman's terms what the actual issue is. Then I will ask them questions about that issue. Okay, cool. How often do you see this in properties? How serious of a problem do you think it is? What happens if it's not taken care of? Do you have a guesstimate of how much you think it might cost to fix? As I'm walking them through these questions, the buyer is now becoming more comfortable because the more information they have, the less fear they have. And again, a lot of times they will say words that just don't connect or click with the home buyer. So my job there at that home inspection is I'm just trying to clarify things. I'm trying to make it really simple so that they're not scared and know what to do. Okay? So that's number 2, is help clarify the report. And step number 3 is submit a request the right way. So there's a lot of ways that you can do it in submitting a request. You could just type it all up, put it in the request for repairs form, and send it off. But what I like to do is I like to come from a really knowledgeable approach. So I'll email the listing agent, because here's what I don't want to happen. I don't want there to be a game of telephone where I tell the listing agent our thoughts, our reasoning, and our request. Then they go and tell it to their seller, and they absolutely butcher the way that I presented it. So I type it up in an email, I include pictures, I include estimates, and I ask that they forward it to their seller if they're willing to. So an email would be like, hey Bob, thanks again for everything. Here's my request for repairs. We're asking for this item, this item, this item. Here's what I think it's going to cost to fix. Here's how much time and energy I think it's going to take to fix it. And here's why we want it fixed and why we think it's important, so that they have all that information, and then they can then take it to their seller and actually provide a better case than what they were going to describe to them. So again, estimates and quotes are key in this, because if I just say, yeah, I think it's going to cost between $7,000 and $15,000 to replace the AC, well, guess how much that seller's going to give me? He's going to give me $7,000. But if I say I got a quote from a reputable AC company and he said it's going to cost $13,500, and that thing is going to go out any day now, I can likely get in certain circumstances, a credit for $13,500. So it's really important to know. So these are the 3 steps that I use to negotiate a request for repair. Step number 1, I set expectations with my client so that they can act realistic in escrow. Step number 2, I help clarify the report by taking the complicated and making it simple. And then lastly, I help them submit a request for repairs the right way, typing up some bullet points, including quotes, including explanations, and helping them understand the why behind the what we're asking, which can help lead to a win-win negotiation. Thanks for watching this. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor. If you're watching it on YouTube, please subscribe and like this video, and comment below what else helps you in a request for repair situation when you're representing the buyer. Thanks for watching.